Hello, good evening, welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from Anu Sabata Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. This evening, Attorney General files 11 charges against former National Signals Bureau boss Kwabena Adu-Boahene, wife, and also 2 others. Tonight, we'll tell you exactly what these charges are and why. Now, we're learning already that the Attorney General and his deputy are in court with Kwabena Adu-Boahene, his wife, and one of the accused persons. So stay with us. Lord Odua Saris is our court correspondent, is going to be joining us in a bit. We're also learning right now the Attorney General, the Minister of Justice, is expected to update Ghanaians on the status of a number of cases that the state is pursuing on corruption and corruption-related offenses. So stay with us. There's a press conference which will be starting in a bit. Eric Mayonegbeta is there for us. He'll be connecting with us shortly. Both of them will give us an idea of what's happening, where they are. Much later, Adaklu Assembly BANS Fulani herdsmen from entering market centers with machetes. We'll tell you more about this troubling development. Details with us shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Also, this evening, we're monitoring the happenings within the new patriotic party as Kennedy Japan withdraws from the thank you tour of the party after the attack on one of his supporters. We've got details for you. Some 4 suspects have also been arrested in latest cocaine bust, remanded in prison custody. Stay with us. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's settle for a summary of the news now. Adu-Boahene is here.
Thank you, Alfred. And on the summary of the news segment today, we have 5 lists on the list, that we'll just begin with the former National Signals Bureau boss Kwabena Adu-Boahene has been slapped with a number of charges after he was accused of misappropriating some state funds. Adu-Boahene was served as Director General of the National Signals Bureau between 2017 and 2025 and is alleged to have embezzled millions of dollars intended for a cyber defense project and diverted them into real estate investments in Accra and overseas. Also, political analyst Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere has criticized the NPP's decision to embark on a thank you tour following its 2024 electoral defeat, describing it as inappropriate amid internal party divisions. He praised former Sin Central MP Kennedy Japan's decision to withdraw from the tour, citing safety concerns after a KNUST student on a Japan's team was stabbed during a party event in Bantama. Away from that, Deputy Defense Minister Ernest Broja-Jemfi has denied reports that he failed to declare his assets, confirming on Facebook that he submitted his declaration to the Auditor General on March 28, 2025. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has set June 11 to deliver its ruling on 2 applications filed by Akwitia MP Ernest Yaokumi, who is challenging a High Court decision and an injunction barring him from acting as MP, and the Supreme Court has postponed its ruling on 2 applications filed by embattled Akwitia MP Ernest Yaokumi to June 11. And to our last story now, lawyers in search of democracy Linsod has slammed the Ghana Bar Association GBA, accusing it of hypocrisy, political bias, and efforts to undermine President John Dramani Mahame's constitutional authority. Speaking at a press conference in Accra, Linsod said the bar's call for the reversal of the Chief Justice's suspension contradicts Article 146 of the Constitution and interferes with an ongoing process. The group also criticized the GBA for its silence during similar constitutional breaches under the previous administration, including the removal of public officials and alleged judicial interference. And this brings us to the end of the news summary segment, and over to you, Alfred.
Safa, thank you. Thank you so much. This morning is on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107. 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, well, on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Now, the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, has formally charged the former National Signals Bureau, NSB, Director General Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his wife, Angela Adu-Boahene, over corruption offenses to the tune of several millions of cedis, together with the two others of Mildred Donko and Advantage Solutions Limited. They are facing charges of 11 counts of offenses, including stealing, money laundering, defrauding by false pretenses, and willfully causing financial loss. According to the writ filed at the High Court, which we have a copy of, if you go on our Facebook page right now, 3FM927, we're displaying aspects of this writ filed at the High Court earlier today. Mr. Adu-Boahene, who was responsible for overseeing critical national security infrastructure, including contracts with foreign companies, signed a deal with an Israeli company, ISC Holdings Limited, to purchase cyber defense software for some $7 million. In total, Adu-Boahene is alleged to have transferred approximately $49 million, that's around $7 million, from the NSB's funds into his personal account, falsely justifying these transactions as payments for the cyber defense systems together with his accomplice. Now, further investigation, according to the writ that we have revealed that no cybersecurity system of the description in the January 30, 2020 contract was ever received by the Bureau of National Communications or by its successor agency, the National Signals Bureau, or by the government of Ghana. That's according to the court documents, which we have a copy of here at 3FM927. Shortly, Eric Mauna is connecting with me right now. From what's happening at the courts, Lord Edwasar is there for us. We understand the Attorney General and his deputy, Dr. Justice Adam Shamsai, they are both in court together with Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his wife, and also this other accused person as well. And we understand right from that particular court hearing, they will be proceeding to the press conference expected to be addressed by the Attorney General to give an update on the cases so far. Eric Mauna is there for us and is monitoring the atmosphere ahead of this crucial press conference that the Attorney General is expected to address. Eric, tell us what's happening where you are at the moment.
Alfred, like you already mentioned, we're still here at the Information Services Department, where the Attorney General is expected to be headed towards in anticipation of that news conference. Yes, we have it on firm word that he is at the law court complex where the formal charges are being slapped on Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his wife, and one other individual, 4 accused persons in that court document which we've cited, a number of which you've made reference to. But we've just been getting unofficial word as well from the Minister for Government Communications, who says that there is a bombshell that's coming on its way when the Attorney General finishes at the court and comes here to address us. And so that's just what we're waiting for at this point in time. The conclusion of work at the court, and then we can have the Attorney General arrive here for that much anticipated news conference, Alfred.
I see. And you indicate that some persons there have already given you an indication of what is to be expected. They describe it as what? A bombshell? Who said this to you?
The Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwabena, he had that to say. And just a bit more reference on his socials as well. He's tweeted oral with some exclamation marks as well, seeking to suggest that progress may have been made on the government's much touted and much looked forward to Operation Recover All Loot. And so that, and combining the both of that and what he's told us unofficially here, it presupposes that there might be fresh details emanating from the Attorney General's office on matters relating to the Operation Recover All Loot. All throughout, we've been anticipating some big news from the quarters of the Attorney General's office. We've picked intel which suggests that significant progress has been made on a number of cases. Disclosures have not been made as to the specific cases, but just in these last hour, a lot of the things we've seen from the Minister for Government Communications tweet, and then this interaction with the Attorney General himself being present in court as these formal charges are being laid on Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his wife and one other donko, it presupposes there's a lot more that's up in the cards. And perhaps a month ago when we were here, when the Attorney General said there will be a trailer in Manila, it might be playing out right before our eyes today, Alfred.
And Eric, hold on a bit for me. Let's cross over to the court complex right now, where we understand that this particular case has also or is being heard in court as we speak. And our legal affairs correspondent, Lord Edwasari, is in court for us. Lord, you earlier indicated that you've cited the Attorney General, his deputy, Kwabena Adu-Boahene, his wife, and then also Mildred Donko. Tell us a bit more of what you've observed so far.
Right, so Alfred, a little while ago, the case began. Even before the case began, the lead counsel for Kwabena Adu-Boahene, the former Signals Bureau, his wife, and then the third accused person, Mildred Donko, he indicated that the case be adjourned because, and know this, usually when lawyers come before a judge, they are robed in their gowns. In this particular instance, both the Attorney General, his deputy, Dr. Sensai, and then lawyers of the defense or the accused persons led by Atachana, they were all dressed in their regular jackets and tie. Atachana particularly was in his political suit. And so he was praying before the court that he gave a little background indicating that in the afternoon, earlier today, they were at the EOCO office because they had learned that the Kwabena Adu-Boahene has been charged together with his wife and then the one other accused person. So they were at the EOCO together with their clients to meet the interrogators. And then they were informed that they may be in court later today. But just after the charge sheet was handed and then one of the defense lawyers was going to sign, they got another notification that they were heading right to court. And so they were quickly whisked to the court, and that was why they were not appropriately dressed before the presiding judge. And so he was praying the court that they adjourn the matter so that they can take a deep dive into the charge sheet and then advise their clients accordingly, and then the case can proceed evenly. But then the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, opposed this, indicating that they had ample time. Yes, this case should proceed because it had been served, and indeed one of the defense lawyers had taken into cognizance the charge sheet, and so it cannot be said that they were not aware of it. One thing that the lead counsel for Kwabena Adu-Boahene indicated was that he said the case is not, he described it as an ambulance case, sort of indicating that the Attorney General was sort of rushing the case, and so they're not in any hurry because if it's a criminal matter, they can proceed at any time. But then the Attorney General opposed and saying that the case should continue. If anything at all, it can be heard, and then they can adjourn it, and then the case will continue. After hearing both sides, the presiding judge in the matter indicated that, well, they're already before the court, and so if anything at all, their pleas of the accused person should be taken, and then if any adjournment is given, then the case will continue from there. And so the case was heard. I mean, after the time of leaving the premises, the charges were being read to the accused person. Kwabena Adu-Boahene pleaded not guilty to all the counts. And Alfred, we realized that the charges preferred against them involved stealing, conspiracy to steal, money laundering, causing financial loss to the state, among others. And there was another other accused person, Mildred Donko, who was cited as a former relationship officer of the two, and then the director of the fourth accused person, which is the Advantage Solution Limited. So they pleaded not guilty, and so that's how far I can report to it, because the case is still currently ongoing, Albert. And something that I overheard just as the counsel entered was that there seems to be a bit of a tension between the Attorney General and Atachia, because the Attorney General indicated that prior to this case, he and Atachia had a very good relationship. He calls him all the time, they chat, but since the inception of this case, anytime he calls, Atacha doesn't respond, and there seems to be some sort of bad blood in there already.
I see, and so this, since this case is still being heard, I'm gonna leave you. But then again, if you go on our Facebook page right now, we're showing you videos. These are videos from the court complex that legal affairs correspondent, the man you just heard, Lord Edwasari, has just made available to us. So go on our Facebook page at 3FM927. The accused persons, Kwabena Adu-Boahene, walking to the court, smiling. In high spirits, and then also his wife as well, both of them smiling, and Mildred Donko spotted in a black kaftan. He looks, he's not smiling at all, he's just walking straight in there, and you have a security personnel also behind them walking together to the courtroom as we captured earlier. So if you go on our Facebook page right now, 3FM927, see Kwabena Adu-Boahene in that black long sleeve shirt, the black trousers, an IOCO official fully armed behind him. In fact, there are two Economic and Organized Crime Office officials behind him and his wife, and then also a gentleman who drove the vehicle in which Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his wife alighted from is with them as well. And then it's with the videos we're seeing right now, it clearly appears they're in high spirit. In fact, they were met at the entrance of the court complex by their lawyer, that is Samuel Atacha. He's a private legal practitioner, former member of parliament, former minister in charge of works and housing as well. He is a lawyer for Kwabena Adu-Boahene. And proud to today, they had already sued the Attorney General, is it not, for defamation, correct?
Yes, they have. And Alfred, when you look at the visuals as well, it appears to be quite unusual. And I think that's what Lord was trying to explain. Because when you see the attire of Atacha, it doesn't look like a regular lawyer appearing before a judge. So if they appear before the judge in this
a kaftan.
Kaftan, yes, he's looking very casual, not properly robed to appear before a judge. But if this, I mean, they were allowed to granted audience before the judge, means that a special dispensation has been made, perhaps due to the nature of the case. And even when you look at the timing of, I mean, this time that's like somewhere around 4 p.m. thereabout.
4 p.m. thereabout. That's true.
It's quite unusual. But of course, law tells us that the process is ongoing, and definitely by the end of this sitting, the plea would have been taken, and which typically will be the beginning of a criminal case. We have seen that the charge sheet has already been filed, which we'll be running through to see the specific details of what's contained in those charges. The next thing is for them to put them properly before the court, which you understand is ongoing. That's about reading the charges to them and taking their plea. Thereafter, they will go into the matter of considering bail. Remember, the issue of bail had already come, but that was before they were properly put before the court. So in most instances, typically what the court would do will be to just admit them to the bail that they already are on, just so the process would continue. But yes, these are just the preliminary aspects of the whole matter, and we look forward to see how this is going to progress moving forward.
Perfect. Now let's get into the charges as filed today by the Attorney General on behalf of the Republic. Let's get into it.
So now getting into the charges proper, we are now told that the accused persons are 4 in all, 3 natural persons and 1 artificial person. Artificial person means
this is a company?
It's a company, yes. A corporate entity. So the natural persons, the first accused person is Kwabena Adu-Boahene himself, the wife Angela Ejeboateng. There's 1 Mildred Donko, who we are hearing for the first time as the third accused person, and then Advantage Solutions Limited, which is the corporate entity, the official person being the 4th accused person. Now on count 1 is stealing, contrary to section 1241 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, and the particulars of the offence is that Kwabena Adu-Boahene, that you on or about February 5, 2020 in Accra and within the jurisdiction of this court did, under the guise of procuring a cyber defense system for the Republic of Ghana from ISC Holding Limited, dishonestly appropriate the sum of about 27,100,000 Ghana cedis belonging to the Republic of Ghana with the intention of depriving the government of Ghana of the said amount. Count 2 is also on stealing, except that in this case, The date of the offense is March 20, 2020, also in Accra, and the amount involved is 1 million Ghana cedis belonging to the Republic of Ghana with the same intent, that's depriving the government of Ghana of the said amount. Count 3, also stealing, also against Kwabena Adu-Boahene. That also happened on the 30th of March 2020. It also has to do with a similar transaction between himself and then the ISC holding, and the amount involved is 21 million Ghana cedis, also belonging to the Republic of Ghana. There's conspiracy, and that conspiracy is alleged to be between Kwabena Adu-Boahene and Angela Adu-Boahene, and that in February and March 2020, in Accra and within the jurisdiction of this court, you did agree to act together to steal the sum of about 49,100,000 Ghana cedis belonging to the Republic of Ghana with the intention of depriving the states of the said amount. There's also count 5, which talks about defrauding by false pretenses, and that is contrary to section 1311 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 Act 29. And this said offense is said to have occurred between February and March 2020, also in Accra, and that is in respect of some 49,100,000, and that it was said to be an amount used to buy cyber securities for the Republic of Ghana, and that they caused the government of Ghana to part with the said sum. 6 also is another offense, which is willful causing financial loss to the state, and that is contrary to section 179A3A of the Criminal Offences Act. The particulars of offense also between February and March 2020, it's also in respect of 49,100,000. The 7th offense, using public office for profits, contrary to section 179CE of the Criminal Offences Act. Particulars of offense within the same duration of time, that's February and March 2020, and in this case, this is against Kwabena Adu-Boahene alone. The 8th has to do with collaboration to commit crime, and to which this is using public office for profit. This also against Angela Adu-Boahene in respect of some 49,100,000 Ghana cedis belonging to the Republic of Ghana. There's an offense of obtaining public property by false statements, and the particulars of this offense is that Adu-Boahene in February and March 2020 in Accra within the jurisdiction of this court, by representation that you purchased a cyber defense system from ISC Holding Limited, caused the total sum of 45,100,000 Ghana cedis to be given to you, which representation you knew to be false and had no reason to believe same. There is an offense of money laundering as well. Alfred, what you notice in this is that there's a mix of offenses. We've looked at money laundering offenses. We've looked at obtaining public property by false statements. We've looked at conspiracy to commit crime, using public office for profits. We've looked at stealing, and then there's one which is quite different from all of them. Okay, so money laundering. So let's just establish the particulars of offense as it relates to the money laundering. In this case, that's where the third accused person comes in. Kwabena Adu-Boahene, Angela Adu-Boahene, Mildred Donko, and Advantage Solutions Limited. So in here, you see all the 4 accused persons there. That you, in the year 2020 in Accra and within the jurisdiction of the court, did take possession of a part of the sum of money totaling about 49,100,000 Ghana cedis, knowing at the time of taking possession that the money was acquired through stealing. So in all, Alfred, you have 11 counts that have been leveled against the 4 accused persons, ranging from conspiracy to commit money laundering itself, stealing, obtaining public property by false statements, collaboration to commit crime, to wit, using public office for profits, and also the offense of willful causing financial loss to the state. So in essence, that's what is contained in the charge sheet. I mean, when you look at the summary of accompanying facts as you'd have typically on a charge sheet, where the prosecution would give you a brief of what information that they are basing these charges on. It's typically a recount of the address that was given by the Attorney General in that press conference, where he had said that the coming days were going to be a trailer in Manila.
Indeed.
Yes, so it's basically talking about the fact that Kwabena Adu-Boahene, at the time that he was at the National Signals Bureau as the Director General, how a company was incorporated which looked like the official account. Yes, a company was incorporated which had an account similar to that of the National Signals Bureau. A contract was entered between the National Signals Bureau and then a certain company to acquire some cyber security infrastructure or equipment. We are now told that per audits, that equipment that was supposed to be bought cannot be found at the National Signals Bureau. Because that was one key question that many were asking at the time, that if they took delivery of that equipment after all. But now the facts disclose that that equipment, equipment was never delivered to the National Signals Bureau.
And in fact, this is some further and better particulars that we have beyond what the Attorney General indicated at that press conference, and this was about a month ago, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Now, a month on, we're having these charges now preferred against Adu-Boahene. You recall that the reason for this defamation suit by Kwabena Adu-Boahene against the Attorney General was that no charges had been preferred against him, right? All this while, and he had already been pronounced guilty in the court of public opinion and so on.
Yes, precisely so. Because in that press conference, a lot more was said, including what the alleged stolen money or laundered money, or however you would wish to describe it. But the Attorney General was of the view that the money was tainted, that it was used to acquire several properties. In that press conference, specifics were given to how much properties and where some of them were located, given specific names and locations. It was the contention of the lawyer for Mr. Adu-Boahene and then his wife that the manner in which the Attorney General went about the whole thing did not augur well for the reputation of his clients, who he says that they are, highly respected persons in society. They've worked so hard to get to where they are, and they didn't deserve to be treated the way they were treated. It was counsel's argument that from what the Attorney General did, he literally painted them as people who really are thieves, people who are fraudsters, and he used all manner of names to describe how the public perceived his clients after that Attorney General's press conference. It was the basis on that writ was issued against the Attorney General for defamation. Now we are at a point where the Attorney General has preferred charges against. I don't know if in this press conference that the Attorney General is going to address, if that will be one of the things that he'll be addressing, or perhaps if the journalists are minded to ask if he can just react quickly to that. But of course, largely these are rights that the now accused persons have, that they have clearly exercised.
Let's stay a bit further on this. And finally, there are some charges, as it were, preferred by the Attorney General. And lawyer Christian Mamhes is joining us. He's been following this case quite closely. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. So now we know what the charges are. In fact, 11 counts of offenses, including stealing, money laundering, defrauding by false pretenses, willfully causing financial loss to the state. Are these that we've seen in this 11 counts as captured in this writ filed at the High Court? We understand the court is still hearing the case as we speak. Now, how's the path for this particular case that's just started today going to be like?
Okay, good evening and thanks for having me. Yes, briefly, they will be arraigned before court just as we have seen. The charges will be read out to them. Their plea would be taken, whether guilty, not guilty, guilty with explanation, all those things. And before that, they are suspects. But once plea is taken and they say they come under any of them, then they properly are fixed before the court. They become the accused persons. And after that has been done, they would ask the the defense counsel if he's minded in terms of bail, and he would move by that. If prosecution has reasons to oppose, he would indicate that, and the court will determine the bail matters. That said and done, the matter could be adjourned for further hearing of it. The next agenda would also see disclosures. The court would order disclosures to be served on the defense counsel and all of that. So that will take some time to be sorted out, and where all matters are cleared, then we would see the hearing proper start, and that's where the witnesses will mount the box, and then they'll start hearing. They'll start giving out their testimony in support of the prosecution, and at the end of that particular process, when they are done, it will be for the accused person's lawyer to file submission of no case. That's where, after he had cross-examined the witnesses of the prosecution, and he comes to a conclusion that there is no case to answer, whether the whole or in part, he would do that. And when that is done, and the court, save that he does that, the court might rule on it. And if the court rules and say you have a case to answer, then they would also be given a time within which to file their witness statements or disclosures. And then when that is also done, it comes with whoever they are going to call in respect of witnesses, whether by themselves or others or both. That would also be done. And then prosecution would also begin to cross-examine them. And then at the long end of the trial, addresses will be filed, and then we would have a decision from the court. So it's going to be a bit of a marathon.
Wonderful. Thank you for this detail. As a marathon, indeed, we'll see how things play out. Thank you for your thoughts on this matter. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Christian Mamhesi is private legal practitioner on this, and giving us, all things being equal, how the path that this case will travel will be like. But if you go on our Facebook page right now, our 3FM927, we're showing you live videos of what's happening outside of the court complex, where this particular case against Kwabena Adu-Boahene, his wife, Mildred Donko, and Advantage Solutions Limited were facing 11 charges of 11 counts of offenses, including stealing, money laundering, defrauding by false pretenses, and willfully causing financial loss to the state. And according to the writ filed at the High Court earlier today, Mr. Adu-Boahene, who was responsible for overseeing critical national security infrastructure, including contracts with foreign companies, signed a deal with an Israeli company, ISC Holdings Limited, to purchase cyber defense software for $7 million. As Dennis has just established, in this particular writ, the state says they cannot even find this said cybersecurity software, and that a particular equipment, it's nowhere to be found, either at the Bureau of National Communications or by its successor agency, the National Intelligence Bureau, that's the National Signals Bureau, as we speak. So this is one that we're keeping an eye on quite closely. We're also getting information right now that the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, has also just arrived at the venue for the press conference. He will be making his way to the auditorium shortly to address the press and essentially the nation on the status of this number of these cases that the Attorney General himself gave us indication of some time ago when he addressed the press. Now, in the next few minutes, we'll cross over back to the Information Service Department, where this particular press conference is expected to take place shortly. It's going to be live here on 3FM 92.7, so stay with us. It's also going to be live on TV3 as well. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. But a quick recall of exactly what the Attorney General said at that particular press conference about a month ago, relating to Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his reported attempt to evade arrest. You recall, Dennis, that was one point that the Attorney General made at that press conference about a month ago. This is what he said. Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his reported attempt to evade arrest. You recall, didn't it? Made at that press conference about a month ago. This is what
11:30, 20 hours. EOCO received intelligence that suspect Kwabena Adu-Boahene left the country for the United Kingdom via British Airways flight BA 078 to London. Days after that, EOCO received further intelligence that the suspect had flown from the United Kingdom to Dubai and had purchased an Emirates airline ticket, which suggested that he was expected to arrive in Ghana on Friday, March 21st, 2025 at 12 noon via Emirates flight number EK 187. On Thursday, March 20th, 2025, EOCO received intelligence again, additional intelligence, that the suspect had cancelled his flight and rescheduled his arrival to Ghana from Dubai to April 18, 2020. That's April 8, not 18. April 8, 2020. Now I want this chronology to sink in because of a point that I will be making later on about why we are detaining him. On March 20th, around 3 p.m., EOCO's operational team, led by the acting deputy executive director in charge of operations, assessed its operational plan to include the possibility that the suspect could have traveled back to London to fly to Ghana in an attempt to evade surveillance. EOCO assessed with high confidence that the changes made by the suspect in terms of arrival date in Ghana may have been calculated step to mislead investigators and throw them off any possible surveillance. EOCO further assessed that the time of the cancellation of the Emirates flight coincided with the time the British Airways was expected to fly from Heathrow to Ghana. The decision was taken to place the suspect on a stop order and make emergency operational adjustments and brace for his unexpected arrival and arrest of the suspect on either British Airways or KLM, which was expected to arrive in Accra. An hour to the arrival of the British Airways flight 078 in Accra, EOCO received intelligence that a name similar to that of suspect Kwabena Adu-Boahene had changed from K. Adu-Boahene to O. Adu-Boahene in the manifest, may be on the British Airways flight. The suspect has slightly altered his name on the name that is reflected on all his passports. Around 9 p.m. on March 21st, the suspect was stopped by Ghana Immigration Service as he attempted to use the commercially important person CIP terminal at the Kotoka International Airport. Now, he had changed his class from business class to economy, and decided to evade arrest through the CIP terminal.
So that's, you have there Dr. Dominic Ayine addressing the press about a month ago. Now, we will cross over shortly to the press conference venue when this press conference starts in a bit. But this is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. If you're just joining us, the news is that the Attorney General Dominic Ayine has formally charged former National Signals Bureau Director General Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his wife Angela Ejeboating over corruption offenses to the tune of several millions of cedis, together with two others, Mildred Donko and Advantage Solutions Limited. They are facing charges of 11 counts of offenses, including stealing, money laundering, defrauding by false pretenses, willfully causing financial loss to the states, amongst others. According to the writ filed at the High Court earlier today, Kwabena Adu-Boahene, who was also responsible for overseeing critical national security infrastructure, including contracts with foreign companies, signed a deal with an Israeli company, ISC Holdings Limited, to purchase cyber defense software for $7 million. In total, Adu-Boahene is alleged to have transferred approximately 49 million cedis from the National Signals Bureau's funds into his personal account, falsely justifying these transactions as payment for the cyber defense systems together with his accomplice. Further investigations revealed that no cybersecurity system of the description in the January 30, 2020 contract was ever received by the Bureau of National Communications or by its successor agency, which is now known as the National Signals Bureau, or by the government of Ghana. Now, Adu-Boahene's wife, Angela Ejay Boateng, is one of three directors of Advantage Solutions Limited, the sole shareholder of BNC Communications Bureau Limited. Now, Mildred Donko is a former bank relationship officer for Adu-Boahene, his wife, and BNC Communications Bureau Limited. BNC was created by Adu-Boahene and his wife while he was still the National Signals Bureau boss, and the company was used for, according to the rate, the transaction of the security system purchase from the Israeli firm ISC Holdings Limited, except to say that this purchase actually never took place, according to this rate. Now, while an initial payment of $9.5 million was transferred to ISC Holdings, no further payment was made to the company. Instead, subsequent funds were diverted for personal use, including investment and transfers to unknown parties. The court documents allege that Adu-Boahene, his wife, and Mildred therefore ran an elaborate criminal enterprise using Advantage Solutions Limited as a holding company through which the stolen funds were funneled and laundered for their own benefit. Now, the documents added that as a holding company for several subsidiary companies, including the private BNC, Advantage Solutions Limited received a substantial portion of the stolen funds, which were then invested by its shareholders and directors in the business activities of the subsidiaries, including investment in treasury bills, real estate, the manufacturing of fertilizer, and rental of luxury cars to VIP customers. Now, Adu-Boahene was arrested, if you recall, on the 20th of March at the Kotoka International Airport upon his return from abroad by the National Intelligence Bureau in relation to the scandal, but was later granted bail. While Mr. Adu-Boahene and his wife have filed a defamation suit, as we do know, against the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, for defamation over statements made during that press conference I just played to you. So we're seeing how things will play out shortly. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Shortly we'll give you an update of what's happening at the venue for this all-important press conference by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. But there's an easy calm in Adaklu district in the Volta region after the Adaklu District Assembly placed a ban on Fulani herdsmen from entering the Adaklu animal market and towns with machetes and other offensive weapons. This directive comes in the wake of a growing feud between local farmers and cattle owners in the district. Correspondent Faisal Abdul Idris is going to be joining me on the telephone in a bit. We'll have a quick conversation on this particular issue and the latest development regarding this particular directive here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. It's getting to some more stories as hundreds of Burkinabes living in Ghana, supported by their Ghanaian counterparts this morning, took to the street and family declared their support for Burkina Faso's military leader Ibrahim Traore. For these passionate individuals, Ibrahim's leadership is what the continent has been lacking over the years, seizing the opportunity to warn the Western world to take their hands off Africa. George Quenning reports.
It's a serious day for hundreds of Burkinabés living in Ghana, supported by their Ghanaian counterpart. And for them, they are in support of the current leader, that's Ibrahim Traoré. His leadership is what most leaders over the years have been lacking. And so they're going to protect him with their last breath and ensure that longevity is ensured. But I would want to speak to some of the protesters here, and this is a well-known Pan-Africanist. I will not just come here and not talk to him.
We can't continue with that no more. Enough is enough. We are telling them that we have seen the movie and how they execute their movies by commanding their directors to do whatever they are supposed to do.
Enough is enough. So we'll still be sampling some thoughts from protesters here, and I see Black Coffee. I'd want to talk to her as well.
They touched one African leader, they've touched us all. The days when social media has empowered us, we know what's going on. We're not ignorant anymore. If they dare touch Ibrahim Traoré, they will regret.
We want our freedom. That independence where they give us on paper. We don't need that one again. You want the real independence. Everything what is for us, it belongs to us, we black.
200% of Burkinabés are supporting him. Unless those fake politicians that are doing politics for their stomach. But we, real Burkinabé, we are supporting Ibrahim Traoré.
So let me just read what is on this very placard. It says, Les étudiants burkinabés au Ghana sont avec vous, Ibrahim Traoré. So all students of Burkina Faso in Ghana are with Ibrahim Traoré. So this, of course, is to send a strong signal to the Western world that keep your hands off our resources. Let's manage our own affairs. Treat us as humans as we are. Another protest is scheduled for 25th May, where the numbers are expected to be larger than what took place today. The message still remains: enough is enough.
As George Quenning, there, if you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, we've got some detail for you on that particular one and how things are playing out in this particular demand and the protesters as earlier took place today. And also live here on Hot Edition on 3FM92.7, the Association of Lawyers in Search of Democracy, they've taken a swipe at the Ghana Bar Association, accusing it of hypocrisy, political bias and attempts to undermine President John Mahama's constitutional authority. At a press conference in Accra today, the group said the Bar Association's resolution, which urged the president to reverse the suspension of the Chief Justice, runs counter to Article 146 of the Constitution and prejudice also what they say is the position of the law and ongoing processes. Linsod accused the bar of silence during what it described as clear constitutional breaches under the previous administration, including the removal of public officials and alleged judicial interference. There's the president speaking at the press conference earlier today.
Upon close observation of the unfolding constitutional process in Article 146 for the removal of justices of the Superior Court, and in particular the removal of Chief Justice Mrs. Tokonu, we of Linsod cannot help but have tremendous admiration for His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama for his total adherence to due process and for upholding the tenets of the rule of law and constitutionalism. A chairperson of the Electoral Commission was removed. An Auditor General was unconstitutionally removed from office. Public demonstrations were stifled by judicial processes and high-handedness of security agencies. 4 major traditional areas were denied of representation in Parliament for a full term. NPP thugs in security uniforms had attacked citizens and slapped a member of Parliament, and many more infringements of the Constitution. The Ghana Bar Association was in deep slumber or was purposefully blind. The Bar Association has depicted abject double standards in the matter, and it is very shameful. Sadly, our vivid report from the mini-bar conference indicated to us that a few MPP elements within the Bar Association who were unhappy that the earlier statement issued by the association did not support the NPP's position on the removal of the Chief Justice had hijacked proceedings at the meeting, argued relentlessly with some executives, stampeded everyone, and pressured the executives of the association into voting on a resolution to unjustly condemn President John Mahama for no fault.
Oh, that's the Lawyers in Search of Democracy there. Eric Lifo is a private legal practitioner as well, but the public relations officer for the Ghana Bar Association, that's the lawyer Xavier Koji, has also been defending the GBS position. I spoke to him earlier.
What we meant by that is that, there were allegations or statements that before the sitting president, as we have it now, became president on his campaign trail, he made certain comments that when he won when he became president, he would remove the chief justice. I think I've heard something like that. Then the other side to counter that, okay, now that he started a process, when it also come in the future, we'll do same. Those are the comments that we are referring to, that they are prejudicial, and we don't want to hear them from both sides. Probably because we didn't say it this way. That is what we meant.
But that's what I'm saying, that in this same statement that you raised this concern, you are also essentially making comments and expressing your opinion about the president's decision, which is consistent with the Constitution, as you have acknowledged that he's done nothing wrong. So why are you condemning something that you are condoning in this same statement?
What we mean, I believe you are referring to what we said, the president's suspension of the chief justice is
unconstitutional. Yes.
I believe that's what you are referring to.
Exactly so.
Let's put it in the context. The reason we put it that way is that yes, the president has every right to exercise his discretion to suspend the chief justice per the Constitution. But Article 296 also tells us how discretion should be exercised, to the extent that we sitting members who were at our conference were of the view that in this particular instance, relative to the suspension of the chief justice, the president ought to have caused a publication of regulations in the nature of constitutional instrument or statutory instrument before going ahead to exercise that discretion. So it's not as if we say that he has no right to trigger the process.
I see. But is it in your place as a Ghana Bar Association to declare the president's act in accordance with the Constitution as unconstitutional?
I think that we are not doing this in our capacity as a judicial authority. Many times you hear people say, oh, this is unlawful, this is unconstitutional. It doesn't mean that those people are they conjure themselves into court. Maybe the cost is coming from us as an association. That is why you're having an understanding. There is no way that we can ever equate ourselves with the court of competent jurisdiction. We are just describing what has happened that is unconstitutional. That is our thinking. So should we even decide to pursue it further, maybe by going to court? I said maybe. That may be the grounds on which we'll be going. That does not mean that we have already decided to go.
That's Xavier Koji. He speaks for the Ghana Bar Association. The full complement of this interview I had with him is on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and also on YouTube. You can also go listen to it. But let's go back to our earlier story where we're monitoring happenings in Adaklu right now, because there seems to be an easy calm in Adaklu district in the Volta region. After the Adaklu District Assembly placed a ban on Fulani herdsmen from entering the Adaklu animal market and town with machetes and other offensive weapons. This directive comes in the wake of a growing feud between local farmers and cattle owners in the district. Faisal Abdul Idris is our correspondent. He's connecting with us right now. Faisal, what's the current state of affairs with this particular situation we're talking about?
Well, the Adaklu area, we all know, is an agrarian area. Largely, most residents in Adaklu are farmers. But over time, they have these visitors with them, that is the Fulani herdsmen. They have lived with them for decades and have even established family ties with them. But there is a growing concern among residents about the continuous destruction of farms by their cattle. And as I speak to you, just this weekend, there were reports of some locals shooting at some of the animals just because there was the issue of some of the animals destroying some farms. There have also been reports of some Fulani men attacking farmers on their farms. And so most of the communities in Adaklu are calling for
the Fulani men to be sent out of the district. This is a call they've been making on the district assembly. So amidst this very confrontation between the two sides, that's the local farmers and the cattle herders, the district assembly has been engaging the assembly members, representatives of the farmers, representatives of the Fulani herdsmen to find an amicable solution to the growing tension, particularly for the fact that these are people who have lived in the Adaklu district for many years, and for them to continue to stay, the assembly thinks that they would have to find a possible ground that all of these groups would have to agree that this is how we want to live together as a people, as farmers, as Fulani herdsmen, to ensure that there is peace in the area of Alfred.
I see. But then again, just give us a quick background of what has led to this particular directive in the first place.
Yes, so the directive, you know that the Fulani herdsmen customarily enter our community with machetes strapped under their armpits. And so the Adaklu animal market, which usually runs on Thursdays, when you go there, particularly tomorrow, you'll find a large number of them in the market carrying machetes, among other offensive weapons. The assembly is saying that because of the situation on the ground and because there have been attacks on both sides, sometimes Fulani men attacking farmers on the other hand shooting at the animals, they do not want to see the Fulani men carry any form of weapon, and by extension to any individual who is entering the animal market, they don't want to see anyone carrying a weapon into the market. In the Adaklu towns, they don't want to see any of the Fulani men going into the Adaklu towns with any of their weapons. They are saying that this they intend to do to ensure that in case of any clash between any of these groups, they do not readily rely on these weapons to cause any further harm to any of the groups involved. And so this directive, largely by the assembly, which came from an advice from DISEC, is to ensure that even at this period where there is tension, nobody relies on any of these weapons to attack any individual in the area.
And I appreciate your time for this. Thank you so much for connecting with us, Faisal. Thank you. As always, Faisal Abdul Idris is our Volta Regional correspondent. Now, Adib Sani is a security analyst who has been monitoring this particular activities of the Fulani herdsmen across the country. Adib, hearing this about this Adaklu district in the Volta region issuing this directive because of what my colleague has just detailed, some incidents of violence between them, that's the Fulani herdsmen, and the indigents in Adaklu. So this directive that they should not carry machetes and other offensive weapons into the market. How does all of this get to you?
Well, the directive, in my opinion, is it's not going to help in any way to stop the clashes. It is unscientific.
Why is that?
So to speak. Because one, mostly the clashes happen on the farms, it happens in the bush. And, you know, if you know Fulani so well, because some of them are nomads, they move around with their accoutrements. They move around with the machetes that they use usually in the bush to clear the bush and do a whole lot, okay? And they also move with their water bottles and their sticks, okay, that they use to direct the cows in the bush. However, when the average person sees anyone in town with a machete, obviously it would instill some fear, okay? So if the assembly says to prevent people from getting intimidated or anything of that nature, fine. But for them to think that is what is going to prevent the clashes that we are accustomed to witnessing, I'm not sure that's going to be enough. Secondly, is as you know, the beginning of the farming season, and this is when the trouble starts. The Fulanis, of course, would move the cows, and by the way, most of the cows even belong to the indigents. It belongs to politicians. It belongs to powerful people in society. The Fulanis don't necessarily own those cows, okay? So when they move them into people's farms, when the corn is just germinating, obviously it would degenerate into violence. So what we should be looking at is to address the very underlying issues so we are able to prevent the clashes from even happening in the first place.
So what would be the most potent, strategy, briefly, in your view?
I think education is key. When farmers feel they have been wrongly treated by the Fulanis, instead of taking matters into their own hands, they have to report to the police, and the police will do what they have to do. And the Fulanis will also have to be educated to know where exactly to route their cattle. I mean, some of them come as far away as northern Nigeria. So if we have safe corridors for the cows to be moved on, I think it would help to a very large extent. And the ranching system has been tried in the Afam Plains. Unfortunately, the necessary resources haven't been provided. So the Fulanis are not even encouraged to, have their cows in the ranches in the first place. So if we are able to do something about that as well, in my opinion, it would help.
Adib, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Adib Sani, security analyst, joining us on this. You're live on Hot Edition. We're back shortly, and Bismarck Ewusa is standing by with the latest in the world of business after the script break. Stay with us.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year, and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, the National Petroleum Authority reveals government's plans to construct second petroleum products discharge points at the port to ensure stable and lower fuel prices at pumps. I am Bismarck Ausasta. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. Government has revealed plans to commence construction of a second discharge point for petroleum products at the ports, aimed at cutting down delays and easing pressure on fuel prices. The National Petroleum Authority, NPA, says demurrage costs alone amount to nearly $35 million annually, a cost eventually borne by consumers. According to Acting Chief Executive Kwabena Adu-Boahene, by allowing multiple vessels to discharge simultaneously, this will help reduce congestion and contribute to more stable and possibly lower fuel prices at the pumps.
If we're able to put up a second one, it will reduce the time spent on our shores. What it means is that you can have multiple vessels discharging white products, diesel, petrol, and the other one, LPG, at the same time. And usually once that happens, the cost of delay on the high seas before discharging will significantly reduce. It is estimated that we'll be doing about $35 million in the course of demurrage. This cost eventually gets passed on to the final consumer. And so if we're able to do that, we'll significantly reduce this cost of demurrage. And that's basically what we are looking at now.
And that was Acting Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, Kwabena Adu-Boahene. Now, Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atu-Forson has tasked the newly inaugurated Ghana Revenue Authority Board of Directors to expedite the modernization of the authority to enhance domestic revenue mobilization and taxpayer experience. He made this call at the official inauguration organized in Accra.
The minister highlighted the revenue constraints facing the government due to Ghana's inability to access funds from the capital market and charged the board to work diligently to enable government to raise much needed domestic revenue. He emphasized key strategies for the board to implement, including transforming the authority's operational efficiency and integrity to eliminate fraud and corruption. He also urged the board to combat smuggling impartially, stressing that it poses economic and national security threats and requires decisive action.
Let me say that the financing conditions of the Republic of Ghana are tight. Our access to the capital market is practically non-existent following the debt restructuring program, and the Treasury bill currently remains the main instrument for raising debt from the domestic market. In addition, both project and program grants from development partners have significantly reduced given today's era of polycrisis. This means optimizing domestic resource mobilization. The number of priority of our fiscal objectives for 2025 and beyond are quite daunting.
Chairman of the board, Honorable George Kweku Ricketts-Hagan, pledged the board's commitment to collaborating with the GRA management to fulfill the authority's mandates, ensuring effective revenue mobilization and implementation of key initiatives.
Together with my fellow members, we will provide the strategic oversight required to empower management, strengthen internal controls, combat tax evasion, and promote a culture of voluntary compliance among taxpayers while building a tax administration system that is supportive of economic growth. The board commits to work together with the management and staff of the authority.
The minister highlighted the revenue
for an enhanced digital transformation, taxpayer education, taxpayer engagement, and staff capacity building, among others.
And that was a report on the newly inaugurated Ghana Revenue Authority Board. Moving on, the National Health Insurance Authority, NHIA, says it is committed to reducing the high out-of-pocket payments made by Ghanaians for healthcare services in the country. This, according to the authority, is key to improving health insurance penetration, which remains below 3% in the private sector. The NHIA says out-of-pocket payments in hospitals remains a major barrier to healthcare access for many Ghanaians. At the launch of Abusiapa Insurance by Apex Health, Deputy Director for Private Health Insurance at the authority, Dr. Andy Mpra, said the move is part of efforts to encourage more Ghanaians to enroll in health insurance schemes.
The whole private health insurance scheme ecosystem is still on the rise, and I think we have only scratched just the surface of it as a country. And private health insurance has a role to play in Ghana's journey towards achieving universal health coverage.
Despite over 16 million Ghanaians being enrolled on the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, private health insurance penetration remains under 3%, due largely to affordability concerns and limited product innovation. Chief Executive of Apex Health Insurance believes innovation holds the key to reversing this trend.
From the past, the health insurance industry has always focused on the corporate institutions. But for now, this product is out there to also focus on the individuals and families, giving them quality access to health care.
Before we go, key findings by the Africa Center for Entrepreneurship and Youth Empowerment shows that 9 state institutions failed to achieve the pass mark of ensuring transparency and financial management. The center is recommending mandatory asset declarations for public officials. The following News Desk report has more.
Titled, The Economic of Government Institutions' Performance Towards Economic Prosperity, the report assesses various institutions based on indicators such as service delivery quality, transparency, financial management, and public engagement. According to the findings, the Ministry of the Interior ranked as the top performing institution, scoring 80.8%. The Bank of Ghana followed closely with a score of 78.4%, while the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development secured third place with 77.6%. However, 9 institutions failed to achieve the pass mark, and these include the Ghana Grid Company Limited, GRIDCO, 41.2%, Ghana Armed Forces, 41.8%, Ghana Airports Company Limited, 44.2%. Here is the CEO of the center, Emmanuel Akwa.
This particular project, we are looking at economic prosperity levels in the country shooting up. Because if you look at our population structure, the young people constitute a major part of our population. But then also you have lots of policies that actually undermine the prosperity levels of young people. So although we are doing something that has a direct impact on young people, it also has a ripple effect on every aspect of our economy. So overall, we are looking at curbing the ills of society, such as corruption, such as the poverty, such as unemployment, curbing all these things using this particular report. If policymakers are able to adopt these policy recommendations, then we are halfway through solving our problems. And with time, if we are consistent by adopting these policy recommendations, I believe Ghana would be prosperous in future.
Meanwhile, governance expert Professor Enoch Entry is worried that government-assisted agencies are saddled with huge debts.
Now, if you look at the report that is coming in, for the past 5 years, the government-assisted agencies have incurred a debt of over 29.5 billion Ghana cedis, including Electricity Company of Ghana that has a debt of 9.7 billion Ghana cedis. So none of them, or few of them, are making profits. And none of us will run our businesses like that. I want to urge Ghanaians that we all have to strengthen the hands of our current administration. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama need to be supported. I always keep saying that he can be a little angel on our shoulders if we strengthen his hand. He's bringing good policies. And the debt that has been accumulated, never before should we accumulate debt on citizens like that.
And that was a report on key findings by the Africa Center for Entrepreneurship and Youth Empowerment, showing that 9 state institutions failed to achieve the pass mark of ensuring transparency and financial management. And that will be all for the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, it's streamnews.com. Erek Wampofo is next with sports. Do stay.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Horeku Ampafo. We start by going all the way back to 2023, where three sports discovered physically challenged high jumper Gilbert Ampia all the way at Ekumfi. The 16-year-old who dreams of becoming a Paralympian clinched his first individual title in the just-ended Para-Athletics Championships at the Marrakesh in Morocco and was honored by the president of the Ghana Paralympic Committee, that's President Samson Dean. There's more for you in the following report.
16-year-old physically challenged athlete Gilbert Ampia achieved a remarkable feat in his fledgling Paralympic career. The St. Augustine's College student, who hails from Ekumfi Echa in Ghana's central region, cleared a height of 1.73 meters to secure a bronze medal in the high jump T44 category at the Crown Prince Moulay El Hassam Stadium in Morocco during the Para-Athletics meet. Gilbert, who was completely unknown 2 years ago, was unearthed by 3 Sports Bill Ishan.
Somewhere September 2023, we all heard of Gilbert through a report from Bill Ishon, where he did a documentary on this young man. At that time, I would say he was a 14-year-old. And we received the documentary and decided that we will monitor his progress. I want this morning to be a special occasion, but we shall organize another special occasion for Mr. Bill Ishon for doing such a great job.
Ampia's heroics in Morocco have put him in the limelight ahead of the 2026 Paralympics.
I am very, very happy, and I am also proud of myself to win a bronze medal for Ghana Paralympics on T. I say, being thanks to them, because they motivate me to do more. So they will support me anytime.
Gilbert's inspiring story has opened the door for other physically challenged athletes to showcase their talent.
To announce to Ghanaians that this year the National Paralympic Committee, with its 22 associations, shall organize the first ever Para Sports Festival, which will be a platform that we shall work together with the media, stakeholders, to make sure that Ghana, for the first time, will organize such an event to give opportunity to the unknown, as Bill did identify Gilbert.
The story of Gilbert is a unique testament to breaking boundaries and pushing beyond your limits.
A very inspiring story there. But let's do some more here on the sports segment on Hot Edition and talk about the Ghana Premier League, where stakes couldn't be higher this weekend as Accra Heart of Oak take on Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Kotoko have just changed coaches, whilst Heart of Oak's Abubakar Ouattara faces intense pressure after a poor run of games. For perspective, we spoke to Ghana Premier League expert Francis Aboyibo on Abubakar Ouattara, his future tied to winning against Asante Kotoko.
Coach Ouattara, you know, if you put up a poll today, I'm sure majority of the Hearts of Oak fans would love to see him go, because they felt like he's not the right man to lead them forward or take them to the promised land. And you can't fault them, because under him, the team doesn't really look like they are genuine title contenders. Because if you look at their results against teams that are on top of the league, they've not fared pretty well against them. They lost to Hearts of Lions, they lost to Gold Stars, they lost to Kotoko, they lost to Nations FC. So if you look at what Hearts of Oak themselves are doing, you will not see that they are really in for a fight. The only thing left for them right now is to salvage their pride against Kumasi Asante Kotoko. And if you play in a major league season and you got beaten home and away by Kotoko, the Hearts of Oak fans will not be happy with you. And the fact that you said ever since Coach Ouattara himself took over the helms of affairs for Hearts of Oak, he has no money.
And to remember that Hearts of Oak face Asante Kotoko here in Accra in the Ghana Premier League this weekend, bringing an end to the sports segment here on Hot Edition. The program continues right after this.
Welcome back. We'll go straight to the press conference being addressed by the Attorney General Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, right now.
On the docket, we have charged Ms. Adu-Boahene with stealing, 3 counts of stealing, 1 count of defrauding by false pretenses, another count of willfully causing financial loss to the state, another count of using public office for profit and money laundering. His wife, Angela Adu-Boahene, has been charged with conspiracy to steal, collaboration to commit the crime for private benefit, conspiracy to commit money laundering and money laundering. In the case of Mildred Donko, we have charged her with 2 counts of conspiracy to commit money laundering and money laundering. The same goes for the company known as Advantage Solutions. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, my fellow countrymen and women, I am very aware of the criticisms that were leveled against me after my March 20, 2025 press conference. In particular, Some of our compatriots accused me of judging Ms. Adu-Boahene and his dear wife prior to filing charges, and others opined that what I said of them should have been left to the courts to decide. I respectfully disagree for a number of reasons. The first is that I said nothing at that point remotely that their guilt had been predetermined. Far from that. As the Attorney General of this Republic, I am the first to acknowledge that no matter how watertight the evidence of a prosecutor is, the accused is still entitled to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. That is a principle enshrined in Article 19 of our Constitution. And I cannot go against that cardinal principle. The second reason why I disagree with those of my fellow countrymen and women who think that the matters are dealt with at these press conferences should be left to the courts is that the constitutions require that we act, at least in public office, with probity and accountability. I see these press briefings, including the one I'm having today, as a way of breathing life into those cardinal values of our Constitution. Lastly, I think that there is absolutely nothing wrong with a prosecutor exhibiting confidence in this case. With particular reference to the case under review, the diligent investigations by the Economic and Organized Crimes Office led by Mr. Raymond Archer gives me a high level of hope and confidence that, all things being equal, I will obtain convictions on most, if not all, of the charges that I have preferred today. Besides the documentary evidence involving bank statements, deposit slips, check numbers, and so on and so forth, we have persons with deep knowledge of the matter who have agreed to testify at the trial. Persons with very deep knowledge, primary persons who were close to the action, have agreed after having been, interrogated, about what they know, they have agreed to testify in this matter. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, my fellow countrymen and women, between March 2025, when I announced the arrest and detention of Ms. Adu-Boahene and his accomplices, and now, there has been some speculation as to whether my press conference was yet another piece of political propaganda. Some media houses actually claim that I had been deceived into holding the press conference and that I had in turn misled His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic. Let it be known that unlike some presidents in the past who were misled, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is on top of his brief and cannot be misled. Indeed, if any appointee would mislead the president, it would not be his Attorney General. So everything I have told the president, I have evidence to prove it, and the docket is replete with documentary evidence of the wrongdoing that has been investigated. Having said that, I wish to let it be known that the delay in filing charges came about because our diligent investigation team came across yet another scheme hatched by Ms. Adu-Boahene, this time involving Ghana Water Company Limited. This criminal enterprise involved the purported provision of secured internet services to Ghana Water Company Limited by the erstwhile Bureau of National Communications, now National Signals Bureau. The contract document showed that Ghana Water was to pay BNC, that is the national BNC, the sum of 650,000 Ghana cedis every 2 weeks for secured internet services from BNC, that is the Bureau of National Communications. However, for purposes of the payment, Kwabena Adu-Boahene provided the account details of his company, BNC Communications Bureau Limited, to Ghana Water, which religiously paid for the internet services. In other words, every 2 weeks when 650,000 Ghana cedis of money from Ghana Water left the bank accounts of Ghana Water. Instead of going to the National Signals Bureau account, it went to the account of a company known as Bureau of National Communications, owned by Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his wife. Okay? And then they did what they wanted to do with the money. So for every month, Ghana Water paid 1.3 million Ghana cedis to Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his company, in exchange for internet services provided by the government. Because remember that the National Signals Bureau is a government agency. Now come to think of it, that the government agency is providing secure internet services to Ghana Water Limited, a limited liability company solely owned by the same government. And Ghana Water is spending money that they do not have, okay, to pay for internet services at that cost, 1.3 million Ghana cedis every month. In fact, the figure rose to 1.5 million Ghana cedis every month at the close of our investigations. Now, you remember that in 2020, Bureau of National Communications became National Signals Bureau. And so, because the contract documents stipulated that the payments be made to Bureau of National Communications, Ghana Water then demanded that the check payments be made to National Signals Bureau because of the change in the corporate identity of BNC. What then happened was that any time the check was made out to National Signals Bureau and it landed in the accounts of National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Adu-Boahene, as Director of National Signals Bureau, would then immediately write a check to himself and transfer the money. From our investigations, you can see the movement of the money. Immediately it comes from Ghana Water, he signs a check and transfers the money